Welcome back to LearnPianoLive.com. My name is Jamin, and as you can tell from the countdown clock, the lesson is about to get started. In case you're new with this, there's a few things I'd like to show you to help you throughout the lesson. These lessons are always guided and shaped by your questions, and if you're live with us today, there's a couple different ways you can do that. One is in the public live chat, and the other is the Ask Jamin a Question button, where you can ask me a question privately, and I won't share your identity in case you're afraid that your question is stupid. But it's not. If you're in the archives, though, then just open up the survey. At the end of that, there's a place where you can ask your question. I will say I frequently get questions from students in the archives watching a lesson from 6 months ago, and I have no idea what they're talking about. So please try to be as specific as possible. If you're watching this at LearnPianoLive.com, there should be a PDF and an MP3 button right next to this video. The PDF will often have additional video links inside so you can get more in-depth instruction on each of the topics. And if you're the kind of person who likes to print out the PDF so you can make the same notes on your physical version as I'm making during the lesson, now would be the time to do that. The MP3 is just a play-along track so you can practice more after the lesson. In traditional lessons, a teacher is going to actually present some new concept for maybe 5 or 10 minutes every couple weeks. The rest of the time is going to be spent applying and refining those concepts. Well, here I'm spouting off hours of new information every week, so it's totally unreasonable to expect you to actually absorb all of that. Instead, the goal of these live lessons is for you to find some little nugget of something that makes sense, but is a bit of a challenge, and for you to go practice it, because practice is where all the improvement's going to happen. So don't feel bad if you have to leave the live lesson and you find that little thing that you're going to practice. And of course, if I'm going too fast, you can always rewind the live lessons or replay in the archives as much as you want. If these live lessons start feeling random or meandering, it's because they are, on purpose. So if you're the kind of person who wants classical training with a step-by-step method, then you're going to want to check out Kloppel Academy on the website. It's included in your live lesson subscription, so you can do both or either. And the upper levels are seriously hard work, but it's going to take you all the way from ground zero all the way up to being ready to enter any major music college as a piano major in classical or jazz. And finally, today we're talking about a skill that most people believe is magical, and it's just not. Improvisation. You can learn to just sit down and play a song without having something in mind ahead of time. It's not a magical skill any more than when my daughter asks me, "Daddy, tell me a story." Like, I don't have one in mind ahead of time. It's probably going to be a villain in there. There's probably going to be a hero in there. The hero's probably going to look and sound a lot like me, but I'm just making stuff up. And improvisation is just the musical equivalent of telling stories. In the end, you might find out that you're no Mark Twain, but you can have a lot of fun, and honestly, you can become super decent at it, even if you're not the best. The truth is, even Mark Twain wouldn't have known that he was going to become Mark Twain without a whole lot of practice. So don't be discouraged. You can do this. And you'll need to do this. Every musical scenario, from playing Happy Birthday for your nephew to performing Beethoven at Carnegie Hall, is going to be benefited by good improvisational skills. So let's make up some stuff together. Welcome back to LearnPianoLive.com. My name is Jamin, and this is the incomparable Kendra.
Guess what? So it was pretty cool. My Spanish teacher asked if any of us students knew like any songs in Spanish, and I was like, yeah, I've sang a couple. And she was like, are they anywhere? Can I watch them? And I was like, sure. So like I sent them to her, and then she played them for the whole class. And I didn't know whether to feel really excited or really terrified.
Yeah, right. So which did it end up being?
Terrified and then excited.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it was just sweet.
I'm guessing everybody in all of your classes knows who you are?
Well, as a high school student, yes, but I don't think they would know me like...
They know that you have a YouTube channel and that you're kind of a thing.
Some?
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
some people...
Your teachers do, though.
So, not really, unless I like share stuff with them, but...
Okay. Huh?
Yeah, then my Spanish teacher knows now.
Yeah,
so
well,
pretty cool.
Cool. What did you send? Where did you send her? Him.
I sent her 2 videos, one that I haven't posted, and then one that's called El Tejano, where I sing part of the song in Spanish.
Was that a guitar thing or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Nice. Right on.
Yeah.
Go check out Kendra's YouTube channel.
Oh, thank you.
Something. I don't know, Kendra Dantes. She's like the only one out there, right? Are you?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, maybe, I think I saw like another Kendra Dantes on Facebook one time, and I was like, there's more than one of us.
Wow. All right.
But yeah.
Cool. So, today, we're doing the Honeysuckle Jazz Idiom. This is, again, just a little mini course that is based on the bigger course that sends you through the entire circle of fifths and all that stuff. That is in the Musipedia in the Jazz Idioms section. If you go check there right now, it's not there, but it's getting built, and this is the little mini lesson that is based on the materials that we're putting up for that. So the idea behind all this is that you are improvising and you want it to sound more jazzy, whatever that means. And most jazz players are going to hate this lesson already just in the terminology we've used so far. But we're going to make it more jazzy when you use some of the idioms. And even if you're not just trying to take your stuff and add a little bit of jazz to it, if you're studying jazz, if you practice this thing, you'll notice this thing showing up more and more places. And the benefit of knowing these is that it makes all those transcriptions that you're trying to do so much faster, because you'll be going, you'll be trying to transcribe something that is really fast. And the more you can identify chunks of it, the faster you'll be able to just like, oh yeah, he did that thing and then that thing and then that thing, as opposed to like having to do every single note, which can become extremely, extremely tedious. So This is called the Honeysuckle. It's from the song Honeysuckle Rose. And it can be used on basically 3 types of chords. One is a major chord, one is a minor chord, and one is a dominant chord. So let's talk about those real quick. This is the beginner lesson, but it's not really a beginner concept. So this is like the intro to the concept, which might be more than like if it's your first lesson with me. This is not where we start our beginner students. But here we go. This is a C major 7 chord. That's what that thing right there means. C triangle is the way we usually write it in jazz. And so that's a C major 7. It's a C major chord with a 7. If this is the 1, the 3, and the 5, this would be the 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're moving through this stuff pretty quickly because when we're playing idioms, the idea is that you kind of already know like some of the chords and stuff, and you're already starting to solo a little bit. So that's a C major 7, and then the numbers that we're going to play for this particular idiom for the honeysuckle is going to be this note right here. We're going to start on a D, and in the C major chord, this would be considered the 9. If this is the 1, the 3, the 5, and the 7. This would be the 9, but it also looks kind of like the 2 because it's only 1 note higher than the C, which is the root of the chord. That would be the number 1 of the C major 7 chord. Again, we're moving pretty quick through this stuff, but if you're with me so far, we would go from the 9 or the 2 to the 1. So that's the beginning. It's only 5 notes long, and those are the first 2 notes, is the 2 and then the 1. So no matter your level, even if we like, you didn't know what any of those notes were, but you knew that that one was an F, right? If you didn't know this was an F chord, the beginning of the honeysuckle would be to just take that F, go up 1 whole step, or 2 half steps, and play that note and then that note, and that's the beginning of the honeysuckle. So it starts out really super easy. You're just gonna play, if on an F chord, you'd play the 2 of the chord to the 1 of the chord, or the note that's a whole step away from the root to the root. Hopefully that makes sense so far. So back to our C major 7. We play the 2 or the 9 to the 1. Now we've got to skip to the 3, and this is where this thing kind of gets, this is where it's more like the pivot, and actually, yeah, it's a lot like the pivot. It's got this big jump in here, from the 1 to the 3, but you can tell from here to here is down, and what most people are going to want to do when they hear 2, 1, 3 is 2, 1, 3, because the 3 of the chord's right there. So we want to go 2, 1, 3, and that's really the character of the honeysuckle right there. 2, 1, 3, and then we're gonna just come straight up the chord after that. So if you can make a C major 7 chord, you can play the honeysuckle by just thinking about this chord and playing all this chord without the root, without the name of the chord. You're just gonna play those 3 notes, but you're gonna start off by playing not the root, but the note next to the root, and then the root of the chord. So next to the root, root, and then the 3, 5, 7. That is the honeysuckle. And using that in your improvisation will help it sound more jazzy, if that's a thing. So that's how you would play through a major 7 chord. So if we had like an F major 7 chord, again, we're just gonna rip off the root here. So this is our F major 7 chord. If you don't know that already, just trust me, it's an F, an A, a C, and an E. So we're gonna rip off the root. We're gonna play up here the note that's right next to the root, and then the root. So we're gonna play that note, and then that note, and then straight through the chord. So that is the honeysuckle for an F major 7. Let's try one more, and again, you don't have to know these chords on your own. Just trust me that G, B, D, and F sharp are a G major 7 chord, and so if we just rip off the root here, and we play not the root, but the note right next to the root, and then the root, and then play the chord, that right there, that's how we would play the honeysuckle on a G major 7. So that's the idea behind the major 7 is start on the 2, go to the 1, and then the 3, and then the 5, and then the 7. We can use these exact same notes on other chords. So for example, if we had a minor 7 chord, then we could go to, this is a C minor 7, just trust me, we're gonna go to the 4 of that. So if this is the 1, the 3, and the 5, then we're gonna go to the 4 of it. Also, arguably the 11 of the chord, sure, whatever. It's probably gonna be easier for most people to think of this as the 4, and we're gonna be moving from the 4 to the 3 of the chord. So this is the 1, the 3, the 5, the 7. We're gonna go to the 3, we're gonna go 1 whole step higher. So we're gonna play the 4 to the 3, and then play the 5 and the 7. So this time we're taking that same chord, but ripping off the 1 and the 3, and just think about the 5 and the 7. And we're playing the 4 to the 3 to the 5 to the 7, and the last note's gonna be a half step below where your 3 was, right there. That's gonna be the 9 or the 2. So 4, 3, 5, 7, 9. That's what you would play on a C minor 7. So again, if the chord is a major 7, we'd start on the 2 and go 2 or 9, 1, 3, 5, 7. And if it's a minor 7 chord, we'd go 4, 3, 5, 7, 9. And there's other ways to decorate this called enclosures, but we're not gonna get to that until Kendra interrupts me like this.
Hey Jamin, it's time for our feature of the day, which today is the term of the day.
I had a feeling you were going to be jumping in there. So yes, enclosures. So this is where we're going to focus on a note, and we're just going to play the notes that are on both sides of it before we finally hit that note. So for example, on this, let's go back to this major 7 honeysuckle on the C major 7 chord. So instead of starting right there, we could do what's called enclosing the note, which just means we're gonna play some note on one side of it and some note on the other side of it before we finally land on it. So the first note is a D, so we're gonna play some note on one side of it, and we're gonna play some note on the other side of it before we land on it. So we're gonna enclose that note and then run off and do our idiom. So. Or we could play. Or we could play. Or we could play. Or we could play. Any way to enclose that note, and we can get them super decorated and stuff. So we could go like, or whatever you want to do. Just play a little bit, a chunk of notes on one side, a chunk of notes on the other side, and then finally land on it, and that's called an enclosure. And that's what you're going to run into probably even more than idioms in jazz soloing, is just like, instead of playing a note, we kind of decorate it by playing all the notes around it and stuff. So if we had like, that's just 5 notes, but then you put like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 note enclosure before that, and now we've doubled the size of the solo by just enclosing it. And it's really just a honeysuckle with an enclosure around it, but that's where we can turn like these really simple ideas. Well, this is all based on the pivot too, and that's just based on these 2 notes. So using these 2 notes and then kind of doing a pivot and then putting a note before that for the honeysuckle and then putting an enclosure around it, like we've turned this 2-note thing right here into like this big old long jazz solo. So anyway, enclosures, those are going to be probably even more important than the honeysuckle. So if you want to just start out with some like really basic jazzing up of your solos, man, it hurts me inside every time I say that. Then you just skip the honeysuckle, skip all the other idioms, and then just try some enclosures around some notes, and that's going to help jazz it up a little bit. But let's get back to this thing, finish off our minor 7 chords and our dominant chords after this short break. So sadly, the lesson preview has come to an end, and it's time to say goodbye to everyone watching the free streams. Of course, paying subscribers at learnpianolive.com can continue watching this lesson and several hundred others like it in the archives. So come on over and check us out, and if you like what you saw, at least like and subscribe, and then tell your friends to head on over to learnpianolive.com to start enjoying this journey with us.